Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first press conference coverage from E3 2016. We're starting out with EA's conference, and yeah, it just happened about an hour ago or a couple hours ago from when we're recording this. So I'm here with Diego, and we're going to share some of our thoughts on the conference and talk a little bit about what they shared there. So one of them, they're actually calling this EA Play. They're trying to like rebrand it like with their own brand for their conference. And one of the main focuses, one of the things that kept coming up within this entire conference that I noticed was a lot of talk about the Frostbite engine, which we know is a good engine, but they really like to push the Frostbite engine. Anyways, that being said, though, they got in, started talking about their program overview, and they also mentioned that they went to another place because they had the conference in two different places, and one of them was in Los Angeles where E3 is taking place, but also in the UK. They had another one over there. Uh, but anyways, during this discussion, kind of their intro, they got a little too philosophical, in my opinion, as sometimes they often do. But uh, there was this phrase that came out, "play to live." So Diego, I know you had some things to say about that.
Uh, well, I just made a little joke. That was it. I don't really have
Yeah.
much to say about it.
But it was like I think they take, wouldn't you say they kind of take that intro section, that, as I said, like that philosophical approach, just like a little too seriously.
Yes, yes, I would agree. It's just a little too serious. I mean, we all know why we're excited to be watching this, but they make it seem like almost like a new step in life sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just
Like yes, they're making strides to evolve their conference and brand it and bring you, just try something new, but like it's not really that special. I mean, E3 as a whole is like Christmas for video games, but yeah, I think they
yeah, it's fun. It's fun, but it's not world shattering,
yeah. So as I was talking to Diego earlier, I mentioned that we all know what they came to see. Just show what you came here to show. Give the people what they like, because at this point, E3 has always been, for the most part, has been for press. But as the years have gone on, especially these last like 3 years, E3 has been had a huge like the public is really involved in it, and they've even done some public days, or at least certain times where the public can come in now. So it's becoming more of a public thing, and they're even thinking about opening for multiple days up to the public, which kind of defeats the purpose of what E3 was originally designed for, and then it becomes just like another PAX or whatever. But show what you came here to show, and just give us a good show. That should be the focus of it. So, with that being said, we should start talking about some of the games they showed. So, the first thing they showed, coming out October 28th, we got a release date for it, is Titanfall 2, and they showed both some multiplayer and the single player. So, Diego, what did you think about the multiplayer?
Oh, the multiplayer looks really, really darn fun. I had never actually gotten a chance to play the original Titanfall, but I had always wanted to,
Yeah, me
but
too.
I didn't really want to buy an Xbox to do so. So I know it came out for PC, but I just don't have a good PC at all, and frankly, it just doesn't work. So I didn't really get a chance to play it.
Mhm.
And I didn't really have any friends who really, I guess, enjoyed it enough, or too much. But like this one seems promising. It definitely seems like my play style for sure. Fast, just
Mhm.
quick action sort of style.
Yeah.
Like that's my type. Yeah.
And
It's
very
like I
just like
mean,
vertical in many ways, in the sense that you're
mm,
always flying around. You're changing elevation as in your playing. So it's very similar to like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, as far as another franchise I could compare it to, because a lot of people say they
Call of
try to
Duty in
copy
general is
Titanfall
just
with
very
that.
fast paced.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Well, I think it's
the
most
thing I always
comparable
liked
to
about Call of
Advanced
Duty was just
Warfare because
fast.
with the exosuit type abilities.
Like it makes it like it's just like it's the perfect type of game like for a top like 5 list or something like just a moment you can be excited about like oh this person did something super amazing in super quick succession like just that
Yeah.
this is just the perfect game for that sort of thing
Yeah.
uh,
So Titanfall,
and
definitely
I
they seem to be
can't
playing on their strengths with this next one again.
oh
So
yes
I mean, I think
I
they
cannot
nailed it
wait
down.
and
Like the
the single
multiplayer, they
player
nailed down pretty good to begin with. Although the
oh yes
Titans might have been a little weak, they were pretty flimsy.
yeah I would imagine because like if a soldier could stand against a titan by himself effectively
Yeah,
uh I don't really see the point of the titans entirely
yeah,
just maybe just
but
suppression tools but
Yeah, it
Nothing
definitely
really
looks a
more.
lot like Titanfall 1, with the exception of maybe some new additions of like new gadgets. But the overall way the game plays seems fairly
Okay.
similar. But this time
Yes.
with Titanfall 2, we're getting it also on PS4 and PC, just all platforms except for probably not Nintendo
Hmm.
platform. Obviously,
I
we
honestly
know
think
not Nintendo.
it's a good decision on their part just because the Xbox One has been lacking in sales, kind of, and frankly,
Hmm.
they want to make as much money as possible, so just
Yeah,
put
and
it
we're
on
gonna be seeing a
everything.
lot of previous Xbox exclusives coming over, with the next few years a lot. Like Microsoft has made that
Yeah.
very clear at this point. But we also get a single player with
Another, like,
Titanfall 2. So
yeah,
what
yeah,
did you
go,
think of
go,
the
yeah.
single player?
With the single player, yes, that, I was very taken back of how actually fun it looked. How long of a single player it will be is still, up for debate. But
Yeah,
the fact that the Titan itself is a character in the single player with personality to boot
yeah, that's really
is
cool.
quite astonishing. It's basically just I always thought of it as a tanker, but his tank can talk to him.
Yeah,
Just
it would
like
just be like before. It seemed like just this is a tool, but no, it's actually a character. So
yeah. Now it's just like it just but one thing that could do that would be really amazing is that customizable. You could customize the Titan itself. Give it
hmm,
person even with it personally. You could actually make it your own partner, just like. But I don't know if that will happen. We'll see.
yeah,
But I'm
maybe.
definitely interested. It's got my eye for sure. It looks like one of, in my opinion, just from all the conference, the funnest looking campaign I've seen in a while. This one seems like it
Yeah,
really could be memorable.
especially in something that's kind of the equivalent of like a modern or future military shooter. So yeah,
Yeah,
very
because
very
it
interesting.
for a while, as we all know, no FPS has really delivered a memorable, fun campaign in the past couple of years. I
Yeah,
mean, FPS, like say just
Doom is kind of
generically,
doing that. A lot of people are.
a little bit,
So,
but there was
but
just,
that's
I
because
don't
like,
know.
yeah, sure.
I mean, Doom, the new Doom, I looked into it a bit, but I don't know if it's going to be
Well, I know a
super
lot of people are
memorable.
talking really good about their campaign, and as I said when I did first impressions, I played the beta. I remember saying, well, Doom multiplayer, maybe not so much, but the campaign's probably what you're gonna buy it for. So,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
I haven't played it
I
myself,
never
so
imagined anyone buying for like multiplayer, but still, yeah. So, this I'm really excited. I really
yeah.
am.
And with the
Uh,
Titan, and we're talking about the Titan as a character and personality, I was at first afraid that maybe the Titan wouldn't have enough personality, but there was a segment at the end of the trailer where he said,
I don't know.
"Just
It
trust
was
me," and
almost
then he
on
threw the
cue.
player. So
Yeah,
it shows
it
character
was
at that point.
on cue. Like literally, you said, I don't know if this has personality. I thought it did have a lot of personality, and then
Yeah.
I was just about to say something, and then he did it for me. Like he showed you the personality that you were
Mhm.
wanting to see.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was almost cinematic, just like we should have been on TV. Like that would have
Yeah.
been a gag.
Yeah. Worthy
Like
sequel.
just
So moving on, we got Madden 17, of course EA's. I would just say this is just another EA sports game that they're overhyping. Uh, but there is an ESPN2 like tournament thing that's going to be going on later during the week for Madden finals. There's like I think 8 people competing in the tournament, but it's like the big showdown at the
hmm
end is probably going to be between what I guess you could call like the 2 best Madden players in the world, or at least in the United States. But one of the
yeah. I
guys
mean,
actually
like
has a broken arm there. I'm thinking that might just be a publicity thing, and he doesn't actually have a broken arm. But
I
maybe he
wouldn't go that far,
does.
but like
Maybe he does.
yeah, but
So,
it might be safe to actually say in the world because I mean this is Madden. I mean the world itself beyond the United States doesn't care too much for
hmm,
American football,
yeah,
so
that's true.
it very well could be the world. But like
Yeah.
just
But yeah, Madden 17,
so
nothing really new. Just another sports game. They're doing the ESPN thing.
yeah,
Big deal.
it would be even though I don't really play sports games too much, it would be kind of cool to see a tournament like of the best in
Yeah.
the world,
I think
for
it's
fight
not
for
just
number
so much
one.
that it's the sports game that a lot of people dismiss it, including myself, but it's just that it's partially because it is a sports game, but mostly because of the fact that it's still annualized and their graphics are always dated and they don't really make that many improvements. So That's basically the
Mm.
idea. Then next up was
Okay.
Mass Effect Andromeda. We actually saw more of this. Not really too much gameplay now, but one of the things I really liked about what they showed, well, they emphasized the Frostbite engine. This is the first time the Frostbite engine is going to be used in a Mass Effect game. I don't know exactly what other engine they are used before, but BioWare is committed to delivering another phenomenal story with Mass Effect Andromeda, and who knows, we might be going into like a new trilogy or new step for the franchise with sequels directly related to Andromeda. But it looks stunning for right now. And I kind of especially like the way they showed it off because they also showed the development team working on it as well. Which there's a lot of games that do that, but I really like it when they do that because it kind of shows you, it gives you a tiny bit of insight into the development of the game and how things are coming along. It kind of gives you an idea where the game is at that given moment if you know at least a fair amount about how like the process of game development. So what did you think of that, Diego? Not really much to say though.
No, yeah, you're right. I don't really have really much input. You kind of did it
Yeah, and this is
perfectly.
obviously probably wasn't enough to sell you on it, but are you maybe looking into potentially trying this game out? First Mass Effect game for you?
We'll see. I mean, like, it definitely looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I've never been one for that type of game where
Yeah,
just there's so many choices you make that can influence the story. Where, like, I do have a few exceptions, of course. But, like, just for me, like, a game that looks that visually stunning and has such unique characters to it, to me, I've always enjoyed more of a solid story where I have no impact. I just want to know the story.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Just from experience, I think BioWare does handle like this is what BioWare is really good at, and they're good at no matter what decisions you make, there is still a very solid story behind that. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to it as somebody who's played some of not all the Mass Effect games, but I played some of them. So next up, we have EA Play to Give. This is a new thing that EA is doing. It's like you play, you actually complete in-game actions, kind of like achievements, and they donate money to charities based on that. So we'll see how that kind of works. Maybe they're gonna do something similar to what Extra Life does. Only Extra Life never had the in-game achievement. So I think this is gonna be a very gamer-centered, kind of like charity contribution effort. But might be interesting to see what they're going to do in it. But they were also talking about diversity in games and more female representation and some of the things they said didn't really surprise me
What that
too much.
necessarily means, like what that necessarily means, female representation, they didn't quite
Yeah,
specify
because
too
some
much.
people are
But
like try to
what I'm assuming,
overrepresent it, and then other people are
I
just
know,
like,
but
hey, just give
what
them equal
I'm,
representation, make
yeah,
it realistic.
what I'm assuming is just going to see you're going to see a lot more women in groups with men.
Yeah,
Personally, I don't
yeah,
think we're
because
going to see just like full female groups, like, but I think it's just going to be a lot more mixed.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's possible, but yeah, the specific instance I was thinking was Star Wars Galaxy Hero, and as Diego said, not necessarily all women groups, but they specifically said that statement in reference to that game that you can control groups, that are with female diversity or whatever.
Yeah,
I
so
can't remember
people
that
could get
exact wording.
they weren't clear enough, but I'm just
Yeah,
taking an
exactly. Yeah,
educated
just
guess.
clarity was somewhat lacking there, and maybe that was purposeful. I wouldn't be surprised if that's purposeful, because you don't want to anger either side, so they're kind of trying to stay as neutral as possible. But that could end up backfiring on them. So we'll see.
Hmm.
Next up, another sports game, FIFA 17. This game gets a little more slack for me. Like, it's FIFA, it's not as bad. But Alex Hunter, Alex Hunter, Alex Hunter. You hear that all the time because the campaign in this game is fairly similar to what NBA 2K16 did with theirs, but in FIFA 17, you follow Alex Hunter through their campaign, which they're calling the Journey, and you basically follow him, from his, early days of playing basketball, maybe high school or
Yeah,
whatever, to when he gets signed and becomes an athlete.
they
Go on.
showed the story trailer to this, and basically the main gag that we're trying to really say is that there was never a 5 second space in between the trailer where you just didn't hear the name Alex Hunter. It
Yeah.
was very
They're
almost amusing.
really, really emphasizing that.
Like every 5 seconds, Alex Hunter, Alex Hunter, just like.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. So,
They even make you laugh at the end. At the very end of the trailer, he even goes and says, "My name is Alex Hunter."
yeah, that was great. So, anyways, also in the journey, you can there's branching pathways. So some parts of the story may be a bit fictitious, but overall it's fairly historical to this guy's actual career. Next up, EA Originals is something that EA is starting, and it is basically an indie support program, more or less, which we've seen like the last couple of years. Sony do that, and Microsoft do that. Just so all these guys are pretty much doing supporting indie developers more, which is really nice. And there's a huge flow of indies, and indies before they were very low budget, and they were games that didn't have too much mainstream appeal. But indies nowadays, I don't know if you followed them over the past few years, indies are actually have a good value proposition these days. They're a lot better and like have a lot higher grade of quality than what they used to. So good to see more indie teams. And of course, indie teams are what's going to make up the future of gaming. So tons of new ideas being born from that. One of the particular games was called Fee, just Fe, and they say it's a game without words, and it tells the story focuses on the human relationship to nature. So this is very much a games as an art type of situation, where they're trying to deliver this meaning or almost have some sort of like a societal commentary in a way. What would you say about the appeal of this game?
I mean, it's definitely not. I don't feel like it would appeal to everyone, but it would greatly appeal to a select audience.
Yeah.
Basically, just like I don't feel like just it's everybody should own it, but I just feel like it'd be a very fun game for many people.
Hmm. Well said. So Star Wars was what they ended up leading up to Battlefield 1, which we'll get to at the end. That will close off their coverage, but they talked about some of the Star Wars stuff. We didn't learn too much more, although they did, well, really no information on any of it, but I am kind of interested in Visceral's new Star Wars game with Amy Hennig being the director. So that's on my radar. The rest of the stuff is they just kind of talked about some expansions coming to the Star Wars games, but nothing really. Basically, they were just letting you know, hey, we're gonna continue to support this stuff. There's stuff coming, but they weren't very specific on that. So finally, at the end of the conference, they closed it out with the big one that everybody been waiting for, which was Battlefield 1, and we've already talked about this on the channel. If you've been following Battlefield 1, you've already watched tons of stuff on it. So we're gonna try to be brief about this, but what were some of the things that you thought were significant about their presentation for Battlefield 1?
Well, I will say that it looked very impressive. In the trailer, there was very little gameplay still.
Hmm.
They're being very lax with showing too much. I mean, they are going to have a huge gameplay. What was it, tournament right now? Or
No,
just
like a Twitch stream, which should be going on right now as we
a Twitch
speak.
stream? Yes. It seemed very strange to me that they actually would choose purposely not to show much gameplay, even though they're going to have this big event thing now.
Yeah.
But anyway, the biggest thing that they really tried to emphasize in this trailer was destruction and the use of particular gear.
And I would say
I
also
mean,
dynamic weather effects. They talked about that twice as well.
yeah, the actual sound effects of destruction
Yeah, all
along
all
with the weather.
elements of the Frostbite engine, what the Frostbite engine allows them to do. Once again, harkening back to that.
So, yes, the biggest things that, were part of the trailer near the end were the super vehicles, as they like to call them.
Hmm.
Basically, those consisted of being able to be inside a zeppelin, a train, and a battleship. This, in my opinion, is not a big leap for them to have been able to do, because they had similar things like this in other battlefields where you could be inside an AC-130 and such. I think it will play very similar to that in my mind, where a single player will spawn it in, and then a bunch of other players will be able to spawn in the vehicle and fire from it.
I definitely
But it
think
will
there
be
are
on a
more
rail.
maybe to it though than modern day stuff,
Yeah,
but
I
it
I
will function the
definitely
same
feel
way
that it
for
will
sure.
be, yeah. I definitely feel that it's going to be on a rail. There's no really assumption in my mind that a player would control where the actual vehicle goes, because it's such a massive thing that I honestly don't really see the purpose of letting it be player controlled, personally. I mean,
Hmm.
because they always seem just like they have such specific roles. Like the battleship in this sort of combat would have a very, very specific role of just staying in a single spot and firing from there on targets.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to move. And on a train, I can just imagine it being, of course, on a rail, and just being able to shoot from. I imagine it. maybe depending on how they design the map. In my mind, I would just see the train being on a high up area, and everyone who spawns in the train being able to look down over the map in general.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I
Um,
was surprised of and kind of hoping for actually was that they had to have more of a focus on the single player in this case. Kind of with
the
evidence of a
trailer,
lot
I
of the
mean,
cinematic stuff. But probably that's probably because they were going to be doing this multiplayer stream afterwards, showing off that in detail.
yeah, and
So
plus, Battlefield lately really, and Call of Duty too, of course, is very, very, very focused on their multiplayer.
hmm
While this one definitely seems like it actually will have a very interesting campaign, nothing is going to sell it more than its multiplayer, for sure.
yeah, true. Just because that's what people know them, both of them for. So, anyways, and yeah, the
Hmm.
trailer was this new trailer they showed was very well put together, and I would say it is more of a trailer. It wasn't necessarily a demo or a demonstration or any sort of presentation of the game. It was still technically just a trailer, but very well put together, just like the reveal trailer. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what will become of Battlefield 1. But that pretty much wraps it up. So let's score this conference with a letter grade. I would give. Let's see. I'm kind of decided between a B and a B plus because I think they did good. They didn't necessarily do anything bad, but there wasn't any like real surprises that they pulled out. So it was pretty solid. But I think I'm gonna give this conference a B. Solid B.
I would agree. There was nothing in there that blew me out of the water, for sure, but it wasn't a bad conference either. It was good. And there were some things that really impressed me at the same time, but they didn't blow me out of the water, as I'm saying. Um, yeah, I would agree. Just it's a B. It's a B.
To B.
It wasn't the greatest conference in the world, but it wasn't at all the worst or anything like
So I know
that. So
earlier
it
you
was it
told
was
me
good.
B plus. Would you move it up to B plus? I mean, there's a slight difference, but
Mm, would I move it up? I mean, kind of thinking about it a little more.
yeah. As I said, I'm kind of
Uh,
split between that too, but
I think I actually just might stick at B.
okay. So yeah, it was a pretty solid conference, not too spectacular, but they showed off most of their stuff. It was mainly because of how deep they went into some of the philosophy and how long they spent on some games that the general public or just the general audience, whether press or players, just maybe have less interest on the degree of time or the amount of time that they spent on those was maybe a bit too much. So the combination of those two things, I think, is what really makes us arrive at that rating. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks, Diego, for joining me on doing this. And we'll be having more E3 coverage on all the other main conferences coming within the next couple days. And this conference will be tonight, and maybe Diego will join me on that. Maybe not. We'll see. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.